Yo, I got wood. What did you think I meant? Well, hello there. This is episode 3 of me turning this Tuff Shed into a mini office / home theater. If you haven't seen the other 2 episodes, I highly recommend viewing those if you're just now joining this series of videos that I'm doing. In this episode, I hope to show you how I'm going to bring in the walls just a little bit with some 2x2 furring strips and also put some ceiling joists in for eventual drywall that's going to go up there. So yeah, I've got the wood, I've got some screws, I've got some nails, impact driver, drill, countersink, measuring tape, all the necessary tools to hopefully pull this off DIY. All right, one thing I was debating in episode 2 is, do I really want to keep this being the wall where the projector screen will be? If so, having this center stud right smack dab in the middle of everything would mean that I would need to cut it here, and then put a header, and then another bracing 2x4 here, maybe some jack studs. That's really how you're supposed to do it if you want to make sure your structural integrity is still there. But the more I thought about it, because this wall over here is already how it should be, where the studs themselves are off center with the center stud being here. That way I can get the speaker in its place where it should be. I don't have to make any weird boxes. It's just boom, I can just do it the way it is right now. And because I was also contemplating having the rack where all of my components will be right here in this corner. But since the door is right here, there's maybe about, I don't know, 2 feet of space right here. That might be cutting it close when I actually attempt to install a rack there. On the other side of this wall is the little concrete pad that sticks out from the large concrete pad where the mini split will eventually go. Now I was thinking about having the internal part of the mini split going on this wall here if the projector screen was still going over there. That would mean that all the cables and hookups and hoses and things from the compressor of the mini split going to the vent, that would be a pretty long run, and maybe too long with the provided equipment that will come with the mini split. So again, to avoid that, what I'm gonna do is have the mini split itself be about here, so it's still very close to the compressor that will be on the other side of this wall. Thanks, door, for interrupting our video. So yeah, having the equipment rack in this corner, I will have ample space, as opposed to, ooh, maybe not enough if I do it in that opposite corner. So with that being said, the projector is gonna go up here. Cool. So the projector will be mounted on the ceiling around here. My office desk will go right here. The surround backs will go on either side of the office desk. The projector screen will go here. So with that being said, I've got a bunch of furring strips. I'm gonna start with, I could just prop the door open, but I'm so close to finishing this segment. So I'm gonna start with the furring strips that go on the bottom. And there you have it. Door is closed. Thanks, wind. Thanks, nature. Once I have all the furring strips on the ground, then I'll want to do the ceiling studs, because I don't think any of the ceiling joists will get in the way of any of the furring strips. And just to avoid any potential splitting, I will be carefully screwing the furring strips into the existing studs, since it's just an extension of the stud, honestly. So yeah, here we go. So to start things off, I'm going to install the furring strips that are going on the base. I'm just going to do the full 8-foot lengths that I currently have, because that's all that my Home Depot had in stock. So I've got my miter saw off screen here. So once I have the 8-foot lengths in place, then I will cut the rest down to size. All right, so this is going to be one of the longest lengths because we got the door on the other side. All right, so I'm just going to butt it up against the corner here. Got my drill and also my countersink. That way when I put the screws in, they'll be nice and flush. They won't be sticking out at all. All right, so here we go. We'll do the ends first. And we'll switch it out with the countersink. Okay. Furring strip number 1 in place. All right, and then I just continued putting down the full length furring strips in place, and that was pretty easy. Nothing really interesting happened. It was just easy peasy, which is a good thing. Okay, now that I got the full length pieces in, now it's time to get some pieces that are cut to size. This one's just shy. It's about 16 3/4 inch. Okay, all right, 16 3/4.
Where'd you learn how to draw a straight line freehand? Sharpie school?
Cool. Let's get this into place. Little adjustment. And we'll save this piece for some of the other cuts we're gonna have to do. Pretty snug. Wonder if I can get it in there. Nah. Just a tad too long. All right, attempt number 2. Yeah, oh, well. Haha, yeah. Cool. That's pretty darn good. All right, you know what they say, measure twice, cut once, and it sure works, folks. The rest of it kind of went without a hitch as well. I think I only had that one that was a little bit too long, but the rest fit in quite perfectly, pretty much. It was great. All right, the base 2x2 furring strips have been installed. Nice. It actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. Thank goodness. Everything went fairly smoothly. Hooray! All right, as far as the ceiling joists are concerned, I'm going to be placing them up against studs along the way. So there's going to be one across this beam. There's going to be one nailed into this beam here going across. This is an 8-foot ceiling. So I will have 8-foot ceilings once the drywall is put up. But yeah, pretty much every stud where the roof is, there's going to be a ceiling joist going across, being nailed into it. Now, if you remember, this is a 10x12 shed. So the length is 12, the width is 10 feet. So I got 10-foot 2x4s at Home Depot. And not only is the length of the 2x4s just a tiny bit too long, but also because of the pitch of the roof, I'm going to need to cut off the ends at an angle, which again, I'm glad I have the miter saw. Angles are a lot easier to do that way. And I can get the same consistent angle. So I'll probably start with 1, and then if I can get it to fit, then I will use that as a template for the remainder. So 45-degree angle, I think is just going to be a little bit too much. So I'm going to do a 30-degree angle. I've got it lined up at the very corner there. I've got the other end of the 2x4 braced by some paint cans that I had left over from when this Tuff Shed was painted. So yeah, thanks assistant paint cans. Okay, that's one end. Doink. Smoky. Okay, I held it up. I couldn't get it in there, so I think it's just a bit too long still overall. So still gonna go with the 30-degree angle, and I'm just gonna cut off a little bit more. Maybe just like an inch. I don't know. I want to cut off too much just yet. Again, I want to make this the template. Wow, still too long. Whoa. Is there a knot there? Oh yeah, a knot right at the edge there. Made it a little difficult at the end. Got it though. Okay, I was able to get that in place. Obviously I didn't nail it into the other joists yet, but that will soon come to pass after I have cut all the other ones to this same length. Since this guy will now be the template. Still took some finagling to get in there, but I got it done. The 30-degree angle, it's actually pretty good because it's very close to the roof there, as you can see. But then you've got a little bit more that is going on to the existing studs, which is what I want. So that way it's a little more stable. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that as the template. Hooray!
Okay, then I just took that template and one by one, I cut down all 7 of the other ceiling joists that I needed to install. And then I started hammering them into the existing studs that were already in place. And you can see that eventually I start hammering them into the studs, but then I magically change clothes because I ran out of daylight one day. So then I continued the next morning and got them all installed. Hooray!
All right, ceiling joists are now installed. All the way across. Woo! All right, so now let's get the furring strips onto the vertical studs. Okay, so apparently 8-foot furring strips is a little bit too long. If they're all the way to the ground, they're still right up above the joist that I just put in. So when it's actually on top of the base furring strips that I put initially, yeah, it's, I'm gonna have to cut off about, 5 inches or so off of each furring strip to fit underneath. I mean, technically I could cut one to size and then use that as the template to then just cut the rest of them. I may want to do it one by one, even though that's going to take so much longer. But at the same time, like, I've been burned before, assuming that every length is going to be identical, which may not be the case. There may be some that need to be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, depending on numerous variables here. I don't know. I might just do a couple and see how that goes. $90.5. Okay. First, that is 90.5 inches. It's almost flush in the corners, and then the gap widens a bit as you get towards the center of the shed. I mean, really, it's not the end of the world because, I mean, it's not like it has to be flush against the ceiling joists. I mean, I would like it to be pretty flush. In that corner, it was pretty much flush, even with this one. So I'll probably use this one for that corner because it is the closest to that ceiling joist. But yeah, dang, I may have to do it on a stud by stud basis, or maybe a wall by wall basis, because yeah, for whatever reason, the gap is at least like a 1/4 inch on this wall. Alrighty, let's just start banging them out then.
And such was my life for the next day and a half or so. Just cutting, measuring, cutting, putting drill holes in it, and then putting countersink holes in it, screwing the pieces to the studs with 3-inch screws, more measuring, more cutting. And you can see I'm now wearing a sweater because it's the next day. So cool. So fun. I highly recommend it for anybody.
Okay, folks. The walls have officially been pushed in by a couple of inches. Boop. See? Yeah, all the way around. And we've got ceiling joists for when drywall is put up there to have an actual ceiling. Probably gonna put some insulation up there just to help with the heating and cooling. Pretty freaking cool. And just as a reminder, you might be thinking, wait, why again did you push the walls out just a little bit? Why didn't you just go with the 2x4 and just call it a day? Well, because now I have a depth of about 5 inches. Because the depth of the speakers that I plan on having go in here is 4.4 inches. So here's 4.5 inches. Plus, you know, the drywall itself is gonna come out a little bit, so I'll even have a little bit more depth that way. But yeah, now I have plenty of room for the depth of the speakers that I hope to put in here. So that's gonna be good. This is the 3rd day that I've been working on it. I mean, obviously I haven't been working on it from sun up to sundown for 3 days in a row. You know, I obviously had to do a little bit more work on other things, pick up my girls from school, that stuff, you know, life. But I was able to just knock this out in little chunks 3 days later. Now it's ready. Having it be a shed is obviously, there is no room to go in the attic and, you know, have a crawl space to move some wires around, all that kind of stuff. So everything has to be done before the drywall goes up. I mean, technically, I probably could still get away with the mini split being installed after the drywall is put up. It's not the end of the world. But again, if money grew on trees, I would be able to knock this project out so quickly. But I'm having to kind of stagger some things just so we're not spending so much money all in one go. Like I gotta spend a little bit one month, a little bit the next month. So yeah, that's why this project is taking a little bit longer than I had hoped, because obviously I've been needing to work in the house instead of work in the office, which is what this will become. So yeah, I do have an interesting video coming up soon about how internet is going to be broadcast to this shed. I am definitely not going to be digging a trench from the house to the shed and having Ethernet go like that. So I'm not going to get into it much here. I'll get into more details in the upcoming video because it's actually pretty cool and it actually works really well. So I'm excited to show that. Something in my eye. I'm excited to show that to you soon. But other than that, snaking speaker wire before the drywall goes up, I'm gonna have to do that. So I need to order some more speaker wire. Again, if money grew on trees, I could bang this out in a matter of weeks. Okay, so that does it for this episode, turning this Tuff Shed into a office/mini home theater. Hopefully this inspires you to possibly make a little home theater yourself or has given you some ideas on how to troubleshoot some steps along the way. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And as always, this world is crazy as it is already, so it only makes sense to be kind to everyone you come in contact with. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them. And of course, physical media for life.